order. I'm Carl Keel. I'm with the City of Bloomington Funding and Programming member, but I'm not the chair, but I'm sitting in as acting chair on Michael's behalf. He's not able to attend today's meeting. So have patience with me as I muddle through our agenda. My understanding is we won't do a formal roll call, but we'll do that with our first vote, probably with the approval of minutes. Is that correct? Good. And then the approval of agenda. I don't think we take a formal motion on that, but I would like to add one item under other business. And this will kind of become clear as we go through the discussion of our third item, the regional solicitation, about just a short conversation about active transportation funding and the process discussion about how we proceed with those new funds. So with that, I would declare the agenda approved unless anybody else has any additions or changes. Does anybody have any changes?
I would like to just let you know, if we change the agenda, we do need a motion on it.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to combine that into do it separate, or do we want to combine it into the minutes? Or
I think let's try to, if people are willing, if I would have a motion to approve the minutes next and the amended agenda, that would be the most expedient way to do it. Thank you, Elaine. Do we have a second?
OJ will second.
Thanks, Jerry. Good. So we are now on to our third item, which is the approval of our minutes from the June 15th meeting. And we have a motion to approve and to approve an amended agenda and a second. Are there any discussion on this item? And hearing none, could you call the roll, please?
Yes. Jerry Oji.
Aye.
Darren Milkey or Angie Stinson, Reserve for Carver County.
This is Jack Johansson, currently the alternate for Darren Milkey. Aye.
Thank you. Dakota County. We have Gina Arjana. Hearing none, I'll come back to you. Jason Piper, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Scott Merrick, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Scott County, Adam Jessen or Nathan Thomas. Washington County, Maddie Dahlheimer.
Aye.
You. Bloomington, Carl Peel.
Aye.
Eden Prairie, Robert Ellis.
Aye.
Ridley, Jim Kozlucher.
Aye.
Lakeville, Paul Omi.
Aye.
And Maple Grove already told me they would be out today. Minneapolis Engineering, Nathan Koster or Katie White.
This is Kathleen Mayle stepping in. I'll abstain from the vote since I wasn't there.
Okay, thank you. Michael Thompson is not with us today. St. Paul Engineering, Ann Weber.
Aye.
Thank you. Metro Transit, Scott Chinoyak or Anna Flintoff.
Scott Chinoyak here. Aye.
Scott. Suburban Transit, Vicki Laurer or Heidi Scholl. DNR, Nancy Spooner Walsh.
Aye.
Thank you. MnDOT Bike and Ped, Mackenzie Turner Bargain.
This is Mike Samuelson. Vote aye.
And sorry, what was your vote, Mike?
Aye.
Thank you. MnDOT Metro District, Aaron Tagg.
Aye.
MnDOT State Aid, Colleen Brown.
Aye.
You. Innocent AO, let us know he's not going to be here as well. Met Council MTS, Cole Henniker. Sorry, I didn't hear you, Cole.
How about now?
You're good.
All right, aye.
Thank you. And then tab coordinator Elaine Kouzikos.
Aye.
Chair motion passes.
Thank you, Bradley. Now I'll move on to our first order of business. We have 3 business items. The first is a scope change request from Minneapolis for their E-line route signal and pedestrian safety project. Joe, if you could give us kind of an overview of the request, please.
Mr. Chair, I wasn't quite prepared because I was expecting a tab report.
Yes.
Sorry, I missed. Thank you, Joe, for correcting me. Elaine, would you mind, before we get into our business items, could we go for a tab report, please?
Sure, I can do that. Thank you. TAB met yesterday afternoon for the chair's report. Hublin reported that the program year extension item that was tabled at the June meeting was withdrawn by Brooklyn Park, and they will resubmit a request with Hennepin County to include 3 projects affected by the Blue Line construction timing, and that is on today's agenda to go through TAB next month. And a legislative task force on metropolitan governance has been formed, and Hublin was appointed by Metro Cities as the city representative. For the MnDOT report, Michael Barnes reported that there have been 187 fatalities to date, 11% less than last year and 19% than 2021. However, they're now approaching pre-pandemic levels. Speed has been a problem, and they are seeing more speeding, especially through construction areas. And he did mention that they had seen speeding over 100 miles an hour in some of the construction areas. He reported also on the Quarters of Commerce announced $380 million for 8 projects. There are 3 projects in the metro area: Highway 13 Nicollet grade separation, Highway 65 from 103rd to 117, and then a Highway 10 project. There will also be a webinar on 494 next week, or next Wednesday. For MPCA, Todd Bewan reported on grants. He said there's been several grants coming forward. Newest one that they will be administering is a community air monitoring grant for $5 million. They are encouraging communities to team up with nonprofits to deploy monitors with emphasis on areas of environmental justice. Eligible expenses will include staff time, outreach, and monitoring. For the Metropolitan Airports Commission report, Carl Crimmins reported that MAC is working on a joint powers agreement with the Metropolitan Council. Airport police will work on the LRT between 4 a.m. and noon throughout the year. And then also the FAA will be sending out surveys on airport noise to people who live near the airport. And MSP Airport received a level 3 accreditation for passenger assistance, which is the highest level. For the Metropolitan Council report, Deb Barber reported that transit ridership has reached 15 million rides, a 19% increase from 2022. And they're continuing to work on the goals and objectives for the TPP. For the Suburban Transit Association, Gary Hansen reported that the Invest revenues are on track and outperforming 2022. He reported that procurement of vehicles is taking longer for all types of vehicles. Special services are doing well. MBTA and Southwest Transit are providing service to concerts. The last one was the Taylor Swift concert, and then coming up will be the Beyonce concert. For business items, TAB approved one item. They accepted the public comment report for the 2024 regional solicitation. And those changes are back as with some responses from the staff, and some changes will be on funding and programming committees tasked to approve. And then Steve Peterson presented an item on the regional transportation sales and use tax for active transportation projects. TAB had a lengthy discussion on this item. They discussed whether to include some of the funds in the 2024 regional solicitation or wait until a later date. And consensus seemed to provide direction that more time is needed to think about the new funding source. TAB had lots of potential ideas for how to use the funding, including regional bike share, operations, snow plowing trails, local match for federal dollars, include for trails on roadway projects, ADA improvements or trails or walkways to ABRT station locations, extending the Midtown Greenway over the river, etc. And they would like to be involved as future work groups are formed. There will be need for discussion on funding amounts of the projects and a % of local match. There was discussion, do they want to do very large projects such as the Greenway project? And also what types of projects will be funded, being that it's open-ended and solicitation, they had limited the projects to be funded, they would do the same for this sales tax funding. They also said more work needs to be done on determining the meaning of geographic equity in the legislation. And then time also discussed the option of being open to adding funding during the selection of the projects in 2024, with staff contacting the ranked projects at that time to determine whether they would be eligible to receive the funding. And so that was kind of an overview of that discussion. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Elaine. Anybody have any questions for Elaine? Hearing none, we'll move on now to our business items.
Chair, just real quick, before we move on, I just wanted to say we did not receive any requests or public comments on committee business or to speak, so we're good to go to move on from that.
Thank you again for helping me stay on the agenda. I appreciate that. We'll move to business items. First item is 2023-41. Again, is a request from Minneapolis for some changes, the scope change to their E-line route signal and pedestrian safety project. Joe, if you could give us an overview, please.
Will do. Mr. Chair, do you see the action transmittal up for 2023-41?
I do.
My sharing screen skills are hit or miss, so glad. All right, so this 2023-41 is a scope change request for the Minneapolis E-line route signal and pedestrian safety project. The city is requesting a scope change to remove its Upton Avenue South, Sheridan Avenue South, and 43rd Street intersection. Maybe it's bigger from these 4 intersections on this project. Minneapolis was awarded $1,980,000 in HSIP funds in the 2022 HSIP solicitation in the proactive category. To fund the signal replacement, the award was to fund signal replacement, signal visibility, pedestrian improvements, and other pedestrian-friendly changes at 4 intersections. This intersection is planned as part of the E-line ABRT platform location, and Metro Transit is proposing to include curb extensions and ADA pedestrian ramps at 2 of the quadrants at that intersection. So Minneapolis would prefer that all parts of this be completed at that time along with the E-line project. Therefore, the city is requesting that the intersection be removed from the project, and they state that they will complete the project as it's supposed to be completed. And therefore, as has been recent history, the city is requesting retention of all their funds. So in terms of this approval or denial, this was an HSIP project, so we're not directly involved in the scoring there, although people in this room have probably participated, but they did have a 95-point advantage over the highest non-funded project in that subcategory, which is proactive projects. So we would think that likely what we see here would not impact the funding, the choice to fund that project. And then regarding the cost, this would be a somewhat substantial cost change, about a quarter of the project, figuring that about a quarter of the 4 intersections would be removed. And so that's about $495,000 federal that they'd be retaining despite this piece of the project being removed. As we've said in recent times, recent history shows that we've allowed for that to happen if they're doing all elements of the project, and we will be revisiting that the scope change policy soon, but right now we really don't have a lot of policy language that would say that we should or should not do this. So I kind of cited recent history. With that, I would stand for questions.
Thank you, Joe. Maybe before we go to questions, is there a representative of the applicant that would like to make any additional comments?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is Ryan Anderson with City of Minneapolis, and thanks, Joe, for the overview. Just I guess a quick summary, as Joe said, that all the removed items in the HSIP project will be built by the E-line project And we respectfully ask for this scope change to get approved. Thank you for considering it.
Thank you, Ryan. So with that, do any committee members have any questions for Ryan or for Joe?
Mr. Chair,
Please speak up because I won't see you with a hand probably.
Mr. Chair, this is Scott from Ramsey County. I would move to approve.
Thank you, Scott. We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? We'll continue discussion if there is any after. Do we have a second?
Maddie Dahlheimer from Washington County seconds.
Thank you, Maddie. Any additional discussion?
Chair, this is Jason from Hennepin County.
Yes, Jason.
Thanks, Chair. Just wanted to point out, like, this seems to be an example of unfunded safety and complete streets needs along a future BRT service. And it kind of feels like gymnastics as local agencies try to partner and ensure the success of BRT service, you know, both project development wise, as well as coordinating the FHWA and FTA funds that are in play. And so I really hope the region can work collectively to improve things with the recent legislative session, because it is a lot of work trying to get this all to work. That's all.
Thank you. Good comments. Any others from committee members? I have a question or a clarification or a highlight, Joe. Joe, if you could, the total project cost well exceeds the original project estimate. So, I mean, so additional funds will easily be spent on this project, correctly?
Mr. Chair, I would believe so, but I would defer to the applicant, I think, for that question.
Okay.
Yep, Mr. Chair, I can answer that. So since we wrote the application, we've done similar projects, and based on our current bid results on a different project of similar scope, we do believe that the current budget estimate to do the work is, as shown there on the screen, 3 million if we've done all four.
Yep. Thank you, Ryan. Any further discussion?
Sorry, this is Colleen.
Colleen, go ahead.
I was asking for a clarification on the motion. Does the motion also include them retaining the original federal funding award?
I believe it does, but I would ask the motion maker to please clarify that.
Mr. Chair, this is Joe. As the person who wrote that motion, it probably does not, I should read it. It does not include that in the recommended motion. So to Colleen's point, it might be appropriate to clarify that.
So I think the right way to do that is the motion maker agree that that is included in the motion, and does the seconder agree?
Mr. Chair, this is Scott again. My intention was that Minneapolis would retain all HSIP funding as a result of this amendment.
And who seconded that one again?
Yep, Maddie Dahlheimer, Washington County. I agree with the motion.
Okay. So the motion, as stated, includes the retention of all funds. So if there's no further discussion, if we could have a roll call, please.
Sure thing. So just taking notes on the motion. All right. Jay Oji, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Carver County, Jack Johansson.
Aye.
Dakota County, do we have anyone for Dakota County on? Hearing none. Jason Piper, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Scott Merrick, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Do we have anyone for Scott County on? Hearing none. Maddie Dahlheimer, Washington County.
Aye.
Carl Keel, Bloomington.
Aye.
Robert Ellis, Eden Prairie.
Aye.
Jim Kozlucher, Ridley.
Aye.
Paul Omi, Lakeville.
Aye.
Nathan Grove was absent. Minneapolis Engineering, Nathan Coster.
Kathleen Mail, aye.
Sorry, Kathleen, my bad. Ann Weber, St. Paul Engineering.
Aye.
Metro Transit, Scott Chinowiak.
Aye.
Do we have anyone on for Suburban Transit? Vicki Laura, Heidi Scholl.
Heidi Scholl's here. Aye.
Thank you, Heidi. Heidi, did you vote on the minutes? I didn't hear you if you did.
I'm sorry, I was switching gears, but yes, I
No
can
worries.
agree to them.
Okay. DNR, Nancy Spooner Walsh.
Aye.
MnDOT Bike Ped, Mike Samuelson.
Aye.
MnDOT Metro District, Aaron Tagg.
Aye.
MnDOT State Aid, Colleen Brown.
Aye.
Met Council MTS, Cole Henniker. Sorry, Cole, can you repeat? I didn't hear you.
Aye. I keep switching my mic. Sorry.
No worries, thank you. And then tab coordinator, Elaine Kutsukos.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Motion passes.
Thank you, Bradley. We'll move on then to our second item under business. This is item number 2023-42, which is a program shift request from Brooklyn Park and Hennepin County for work on County Highway 103 and 30. As Elaine noted, this is somewhat of a relook at this project, having to do with projects that are trying to line up with the Blue Line Extension project, which continues to be delayed. And so this is, if you sent in a sense, a second bite at this apple. Steve, are you able to give us a little overview of where we're at with this project and what the proposal is?
Yeah, Joel will take this one, Mr.
Joel, okay.
You're on mute, Joe.
Sorry. Yeah, that name Steve Peterson there was a typo. It's supposed to be my name. So this, as Carl alluded to, this is a sort of an expansion of a request you've already seen and recommended approval on. So the City of Brooklyn Park has requested a programming shift to 2028 for 3 projects. It's CSAH 103 roadway project, it's CSAH 103 streetscape and trail project, and it's CSAH 30 roadway project. And this is in response to a request, or I shouldn't say in response, but this is following a request that you recommended approval for last month, or actually maybe the month before, to move the CSAH 103 roadway project to 2026. Tabling items citing the likelihood that this could lead to another request down the road, given the potential timelines of the Blue Line extension. So the city is therefore making requests to do 3 projects to better align with the Blue Line extension. Only the top row in table 1 there was part of the last request that you recommended approval on to 2026. So staff on table 2 provided pros and cons of granting the extension on table 2, sort of semi against policy. And they greatly reflect what you saw last month when the same or a similar issue came up. So along with the scope change policy, we do plan to review the program year policy soon, because we do really need to address the current trend of program year requests that are related to larger all-encompassing projects and sort of the impact that they have on the year of projects that we program. So with that, we'd stand for questions. Carl, you appear to be muted.
I did the same thing you did. I turned it off. Before we go to questions, I would ask the applicant if they'd like to make any additional comments. I see Dan Solers is with us.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Chair. I'm not sure if Jesse is here today, but I'm here representing Hennepin County, co-signer of this request. Obviously, these are all county facilities, and for the County State Aid 103 piece, the roadway on which we're proposing to build Blue Line extension. And so while we previously had asked to line up West Broadway with the other 2 projects and put it in the program year 2026, Yes, we would acknowledge that the ability to, advance an LRT project like this, which I've been working on for, a long time, is difficult. And we feel very comfortable that lining all three of these projects, all which would be built in conjunction with and as part of the implementation of the Blue Line Extension LRT project, that a 2028 program year would allow us to meet that year for all three of these projects and the entire Blue Line Extension project as we've identified the schedule now. As you know, the Blue Line Extension project was on a different alignment, on a different path, not here in Brooklyn Park, but further to the south. And so the need to change everything to the south has kind of caused this redistribution. That's certainly no fault of Brooklyn Park or this piece of the project, but it did significantly impact the time frame. And so changing these to a 2028 program year would put them in line with the new Blue Line Extension project schedule as we move forward, and these dates would be met.
Thank you, Dan. I didn't see Jesse on the line, but is there anybody from Brooklyn Park who has any additional comments? Okay, not seeing any more. Do committee members have any questions they would like to make either of Joe or the applicant? Seeing none, is there a motion to take action on this?
This is Maddie Dahlheimer at Washington County. I'll motion to approve the program year shift.
Thank you, Maddie. Do we have a second?
Nancy Spooner Walsh, I'll second.
Thank you, Nancy. We have a motion and a second. Any additional comments or discussion on the motion? If not, Bradley, can we have the roll call, please?
Sure thing. Jerry OG at Oak County.
Aye.
Jeff Johansson, Carver County. Aye. Jason Piper, Hennepin County.
Aye.
You, Scott Merrick, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Maddie Dahlheimer, Washington County.
Aye.
Carl Keel, Bloomington.
Aye.
Robert Ellis, Eden Prairie.
Aye.
Jim Kozlucher, Ridley.
Aye.
Paul Omi, Lakeville.
Aye.
Kathleen Mayle, Minneapolis Engineering.
Aye.
Ann Weber, St. Paul Engineering.
Aye.
Scott Janowiak, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Heidi Scholl, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Nancy Spooner Walsh, DNR.
Aye.
Mike Samuelson, MnDOT Bike and Ped.
Aye.
Aaron Tagg, MnDOT Metro District.
Aye.
Colleen Brown, MnDOT State Aid.
Aye.
Met Council MTS, Cole Henniker.
Aye.
And Elaine Kotsukos, Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
Chair, motion passes.
Thank you, Bradley. We'll move on to our next item, which is 2023-43, which is the request for release of the regional solicitation application for 2024. As noted that this one was out for public comment. We have a number of public comment pieces that we'd like to review, those that might result in changes, as well as there was a lot of discussion about the active transportation funding and how that might fit into this solicitation. As Elaine had noted earlier, that the TAB has given pretty direct direction not to include those funds in this. And so I think what we've done is taken that discussion piece off this item and add it as another other business section, and we'll talk about that later. So with that, Steve, if you could kind of run through the proposal and some potential changes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we did receive 13 comments during the public comment period from 13 commenters. And as I mentioned at TAB yesterday, when they looked at the public comment report and accepted that as an action item, some really thoughtful changes were proposed. Some of those are technical in nature, so we thought it was warranted to go back through the technical committees and just make sure they agreed with some of the changes proposed in the public comment period and kind of staff's response to that. So we've got the second page of the action item is before you, and I think, Mr. Chair, your intent would be to maybe do a roll call on each of these items as we go through them, correct?
Yes, thank you, Steve. That's exactly what we ought to do.
Okay, and so that'll wrap up with kind of the culmination is to recommend approval of release of the 2024 regional solicitation and highway safety improvement solicitations, kind of with the following changes that we'll vote on one by one. So looking at the bullet points, the first one we wanted to talk about, and this came from Three Rivers Park District, was they had requested that we clarify the scoring guidance within the multi-use trail application, and many people know that a good number of the points relate back to if you're on the regional bicycle transportation network or different tiering or alignments or corridors. So in that scoring guidance, it was recommended that we provide some clarity, clarifying language. That being if the project does not improve a segment of the RBTN, they would be awarded 50 points if they are part of a local network system and identified with an adopted county, city, or regional park implementing agency plan. So that's kind of the lowest tier of points that you could get under this RBTN scoring measure. So that is on the details there, and I don't know, Joe, if we can toggle back and forth between the actual applications, but or else I can share my screen here too. But that specific language is shown in 188 of the page numbering, and the page numbering is at the bottom of the pages. The changes that as you cycle through there are shown with a yellow highlight. That's another thing to note. So we do have all the changes that are being proposed that we're talking about today are shown with a yellow highlight on it, so you can kind of pick out exactly what's going on there.
Steve, were you going to share your screen, or do you want me to keep presenting the action item?
Yeah, I can share mine here quickly.
I'll do it, Steve. I'm already on the page.
Okay, thank you.
Is it being shared properly?
Still waiting for it.
And so what a motion would it be, just refer to the proposed changes on page whatever it is? Is that a reasonable way to make a motion to accept the proposals that are shown in yellow?
Sure, that would work. Yep. So again, this is in the scoring guidance, so it doesn't change the measure. It's just a clarifying language in the scoring guidance for this particular measure within multi-use trails. So
it doesn't change any of the points or anything like that.
It does not. No.
Yes. So is there any discussion from the committee, or if people are comfortable with this additional language, a motion to accept them would be appropriate?
Mr. Chair, this is Cole Henniker. I would
Cole.
move to accept this change.
Thank you, Cole. Do we have a second?
Robert Ellis.
Thank you, Robert. Do we want to go through a roll call for each one of these? Is that, I suppose we have to, right? So this is, could we have a roll call, please?
Yeah,
I think we have to go through that.
Yep, just give me a moment to get set up here. This is going to be quite a bit of voting, so.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all right. I just want to make sure I am tracking it properly. Okay. JOG in Oakland County.
Aye.
Jack Johansson, Carver County.
Aye.
Do we have anyone for Dakota County who's joined us? Jason Piper, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Scott Merrick, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Anyone who's joined us for Scott County? Okay. Maddie Dahlheimer, Washington County.
Aye.
Carl Keel, Bloomington.
Aye.
Robert Ellis, Eden Prairie.
Aye.
Jim Kozlucher, Fridley.
Aye.
You. Paul Omi, Lakeville.
Aye.
Kathleen Mail, Minneapolis Engineering.
Aye.
Ann Weber, St. Paul Engineering.
Aye.
Scott Janowiak, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Heidi Scholl, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Nancy Spinner Walsh, DNR.
Aye.
Mike Samuelson, MnDOT Bike and Ped.
Aye.
Aaron Tagg, MnDOT Metro District.
Aye.
Colleen Brown, MnDOT State Aid.
Aye.
Cole Henniker, Met Council MTS.
Aye.
And Elaine Kutsuko, Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
Chair motion passes.
Thank you, Bradley.
Mr. Chair, and Bradley, this is Ken Ashfeld. I was able to join and I vote affirmative.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. Welcome. Steve, if we can continue on.
Sure. Next bullet point here is shown is called unique projects application. One commenter did take a deep dive on our unique projects and did uncover that we needed a few clarifying positions, and we can show that as shown in yellow throughout the unique projects applications. We did have to clarify a couple points, but maybe the biggest thing was when you add up the 5 criteria total weights, it added up to 101%. So certainly can't get to that. All these mathematicians looking at this, so we want to scale that back to 100%. We think the way to do that is to a 1-point reduction to significance, a 1-point increase to environmental impacts, and a 1-point decrease to partnerships to better align with what we had previously here. So those would be the changes. Joe's kind of is showing it on his screen, but a couple clarifying changes, but wanted to make sure that we're adding up to 100% here is the main one here. Bullet point number 2, sub bullet point number 2.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions for Steve? And again, if people are generally comfortable with the proposed changes, a motion to that effect would be appreciated.
I would like to make a motion to accept these changes and also include any other typo changes that were found, so we don't have to have a separate motion on that. Any minor.
And then maybe Steve, we're in our little bullet point here, which ones are the ones that have typo changes, just so we're clear?
Well, and on the whole list for today?
Yes. Yeah, there was just one you passed.
Yeah, I think she's saying, Elaine, you're saying within unique projects, there's a few little typos and clarifying remarks. You're saying let's couple that all together.
All of them, because I know we found some in the scoring guidance, some calculations weren't correct, things like that. We
understood, yeah.
So those minor corrections.
Yeah, so it'd be all changes related to unique projects as shown in that application.
Plus the other minor.
So that would be in which categories? The scoring document 1?
There was, off the top of my head, let's just see. I know.
And the equity and affordable housing criteria had just a wording change.
That one's a little different, unless we want to bring that in.
There's a motion on that, but we could bring the typos in with that one and skip it for now.
Oh, okay. I'll accept the changes for the unique projects category.
Very good. Thank you. Do we have a second? As chair, I would second that. So we have a motion and a second. Could we have any discussion on this item? Hearing none, roll call, please.
All right. Jerry Oji, Minneapolis County.
Aye.
Jack Johansson, Carver County.
Aye.
Jason Piper, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Scott Merrick, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Patty Dahlheimer, Washington County.
Aye.
Carl Keel, Bloomington.
Aye.
Robert Ellis, Eden Prairie.
Aye.
Jim Coes, Lucier, Fridley.
Aye.
Paul Omi, Lakeville.
Aye.
Ken Ashfeld, Maple Grove.
Aye.
Kathleen Mail, Minneapolis Engineering.
Aye.
Ann Weber, St. Paul Engineering.
Aye.
Scott Janowiak, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Heidi Scholl, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Nancy Spooner Walsh, DNR.
Aye.
Mike Samuelson, MnDOT Bike Ped.
Aye.
Aaron Tagg, MnDOT Metro District.
Aye.
Colleen Brown, MnDOT State Aid.
Aye.
Cole Henniker, Met Council MTS.
Aye.
And Elaine Kutsukos, Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
Chair motion passes.
Up you're on mute, Mr. Chair.
Elaine, I appreciate your attempt to try to streamline our process. But we'll grind through it. So move on to the bridge qualification.
Okay, yeah, this is one where we did want to have some get some technical feedback on this change. So in Hennepin County's letter, they noted that the state aid federal funding eligibility for bridges had changed. The guidance had changed back in 2020, that is, and that it recommended that we update the regional solicitation federal funding to reflect the new state aid standards for use on federal funding. And so that change would flow primarily into the qualifying requirements. And the change would be, and it's shown on the screen there, the bridge must have a local planning index, LPI, as it's called, of 60 or less than 60, or, so you have to meet one of these two, a national bridge inventory rating of 3 or less for deck geometry, broach roadway, or waterway adequacy, as shown in the most recent Minnesota Structure Inventory Report. So that's a little deviation from what we used to have, which was based on the National Bridge Inventory had to be 6 or less for condition rating had to be 6 or less for a rehab project, 4 or less to completely rebuild the roadway. So we did look back on the past 2 cycles here and found that many of the bridges that applied in the past 2 cycles would not be eligible under the new NBI rating as shown, but the pathway to eligibility was more under the local planning index, the LPI. So I think all but maybe 1 or 2 of the past 2 cycles for bridges would still be able to qualify. But remember, we did have that extra bridge money last time, so we've funded every bridge that applied last go around. I think that was one of the bridges that would not have qualified under this new standard that state aid has for federal funds. So then we did work with MnDOT State Aid, that being Colleen, Dan Erickson, Mark Breezy, and the MnDOT State Aid and bridge engineer, David Kunkel, and asked asked for their advice, as we're not bridge experts in the MPO area. To say, does this make sense? And also this, how would you relate this new qualifying requirement to the scoring? And the scoring also looks at the national bridge inventory, but instead of the appraisal rating, the condition rating. And I said, is that a problem that now the qualifying and the scoring are kind of different areas of the bridge inventory report? David Kunkel's response was he thought that was still best practice. The way we have it, the qualifying and the condition are two separate things, one for qualifying and one for scoring and prioritizing bridges. And maybe I'll just share my screen here quickly, just so I can show you what's going on. So as part of each application, they have to submit their structure inventory report. The local planning index is at the top here. So that's on every report, as many people probably already know. The condition rating just below it, that's how we would continue to score and rank applications. That's one of the biggest scoring measure in bridges. But this NBI appraisal rating is now in the qualifying requirements. So again, LPI, local plan index, and the appraisal rating, that makes up how you actually qualify to get in the game. NBI condition rating is what you would be scored on. So just wanted to kind of make that clear on what's going on here. And I think with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back and see if there's questions, or even Hennepin County maybe wants to add on further.
Okay. Any questions for Steve? I mean, Steve, is for the proposed change then is to the qualification section, and our intent is just to make it consistent with state aid federal bridge standards, right?
It is.
So do we have to kind of recite what they are, or can we just say it has to be consistent with MnDOT state aid standards?
Well, Mr. Chair, so good question. So given that it changed recently in 2020, I think it would be worth specifically stating what those new standards are in writing to avoid some confusion.
Thank you. Any other questions for Steve? If not, is there a motion to approve the proposed change? Or changes, I guess.
Mr. Chair, this is Paul. A motion to approve changes.
Thank you, Paul.
Jason from Hennepin will second.
Thank you, Jason. We have a motion and a second. Any additional comments or discussion on the motion? If not, can we have the roll call, please?
Jay Oji, Anoka County.
Aye.
Jack Johansson, Carver County.
Aye.
Jason Piper, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Scott Merrick, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Maddie Dahlheimer, Washington County.
Aye.
Carl Keel, Bloomington.
Aye.
Robert Ellis, Eden Prairie.
Aye.
Jim Kozlucher, Fridley.
Aye.
Paul Omi, Lakeville.
Aye.
Anna Ashfield, Maple Grove.
Aye.
Kathleen Mayo, Minneapolis Engineering.
Aye.
Ann Weber, St. Paul Engineering.
Aye.
Scott Shinowiak, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Heidi Scholl, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Nancy Spooner Walsh, DNR.
Aye.
Mike Samuelson, MnDOT Bike Ped.
Aye.
Aaron Tagg, MnDOT Metro District.
Aye.
Colleen Brown, MnDOT State Aid.
Aye.
Met Council MTS, Cole Henniker.
Aye.
And Elaine Kutsukos, Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
Chair motion passes.
Thank you, Bradley. Steve, we go on to the next, and some of them don't have any proposed changes, right? So they're just a comment about the comments received.
Yeah, the next one is a scoring guidance document. That was a request from Three Rivers Park District to have kind of a one-page or a short document that just had all the scoring guidance together. I don't think we need to vote on that. That's something we'll do as a kind of a separate resource, application resource that we provide to applicants. But just wanted to note it as being responsive to the public comments.
Thank you.
The next one I would like to vote on. I think that will be the last one in this list here because we're holding on active transportation. We've talked about that already, but in the equity and affordable housing criterion, and this shows up in a lot of places. We did receive one request to replace the phrase equity population with disadvantaged communities. So that Joe's bringing it up on the screen. So it does show up quite a few places, but I wanted to use kind of best practice on the state of the practice on the right terminology here. So our staff agreed with some language changes there, and with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Committee, any comments or questions about this change in language?
Mr. Chair, Maddie Dahlheimer at Washington County.
Yes, Maddie.
Out of curiosity, do we define this anywhere? Like when it was equity populations, was that defined somewhere in the documents? And like really just that term is changing and the definition of what constitutes a disadvantaged community is somehow defined for people?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and Maddie. I might have to turn to Heidi Schallberg here, who helped on this particular one, if she's on the line, phone a friend, to see if that's the case. Heidi or Amy, are either of you? I can't see on this side.
I see we do have Amy is on. I don't see Heidi.
Sorry. Yes, I'm on,
Yeah.
Amy Venowitz. I missed the question though. Can you repeat that?
Yep. Are disadvantages community? Oh my goodness. Are disadvantaged communities defined anywhere in the application language so people understand what constitutes or like what counts as a disadvantaged community?
I don't think it's specific where we say the definition of a disadvantaged community is this, but earlier actually in multiple places, we use kind of the longer reference to Black people, Indigenous people, people of color, and then it also includes low income, youth, and elderly. And that's actually the definition of TAB for what we in the past had been calling equity populations. And so we tried to not use that full term, and that's when we started using equity populations, and that's the phrase they were disagreeing with. So we're inserting disadvantaged communities, which is a term frequently used in federal documents, but I would say in federal documents, unfortunately, they don't quite have the broad look that we do because we include youth and elderly in our definition of disadvantaged or equity populations.
So I presume Maddie's question kind of leads, should we have that clarification or that definition somewhere?
I would agree, because what we're using it to kind of shorten that longer version. So we could add something at the front end and I'd have to find a place that essentially says tabs definition of disadvantaged communities is this, and then use that as the shortened phrase throughout the document.
Steve, can you bring up the text of those measures? Because when you read the full measure, it explains. I don't know if that makes a difference there. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, I would think that first sentence, somewhere in there, we should say, you know, provide direct benefits to disadvantaged communities defined as Black, Indigenous, and people of color, low income persons with, so we could just insert that phrase right there. I'll repeat that quick. So it would say successful projects are designed to provide direct benefits to disadvantaged communities defined as, and then the rest of the sentence there.
I think that's a good suggestion. So if one were to move to approve the swap of disadvantaged communities, please include in your motion and the suggested language that Amy just said.
This is Maddie Dahlheimer at Washington County. I can move to approve the language change to disadvantaged communities and include that definition adjustment as discussed.
Thank you, Maddie.
Yeah,
perfect.
Thanks.
Do we have a second?
Second by OJ.
Thanks, Jerry. Unless there's any additional discussion, could we have roll call on this item? Bradley, do we have you or are you on mute?
I'm here. I was just taking notes on all the different
sorry.
pieces of the motion. Okay. Making sure I'm doing the right one here. Okay, this is change 4. All right. Jerry OJ in Oakland County.
Aye.
Jack Johansson, Carver County.
Aye.
Jason Piper, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Scott Merrick, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Maddie Dahlheimer, Washington County.
Aye.
Carl Keel, Bloomington.
Aye.
Robert Ellis, Eden Prairie.
Aye.
Jim Kozlucher, Fridley.
Aye.
Paul Omi, Lakeville.
Aye.
Ken Ashbeld, Maple Grove.
Aye.
Kathleen Mail, Minneapolis Engineering.
Aye.
Ann Weber, St. Paul Engineering.
Aye.
Scott Janowiak, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Heidi Scholl, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Nancy Spooner Walsh, DNR.
Aye.
Mike Samuelson, MnDOT Bike Ped.
Aye.
Aaron Tagg, MnDOT Metro District.
Aye.
Colleen Brown, MnDOT State Aid.
Aye.
Met Council MTS, Cole Henniker.
Aye.
And Elaine Kotsuko's Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
Chair motion passes.
Thank you. Next item has to do with the active transportation. As noted earlier, the tab has directed that not be included in this solicitation. And I think we've pulled this discussion off to our next agenda item. So Steve, does that complete your report?
Yeah, I do think, Mr. Chair, that we should have one final motion that includes everything we've done and releases the 2024 regional solicitation and highway safety improvement solicitations. That would be inclusive of all the motions. I don't know how many we did here, but
yep. So that's good. So I mean, I think it would be appropriate for a
3.
motion to approve the solicitation for release as amended.
I will make a motion to release the solicitation as amended with the prior motions plus any minor edits. And for example, what I mean by that is if Steve could pull up page 127.
Joe has control.
Oh, Joe, page 127.
Find the right page.
At page 127, the top page. Right there, that's 16. In the document that went out, it was 6. And so we found minor corrections like that. So release the solicitation with the edits or the changes approved in previous actions plus any minor edits.
Thank you, Elaine. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second, Robert Ellis.
Thank you, Robert. We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
This is Kathleen Mayle. I have a question. I know we're assuming that this is taking out the active transportation part of the actual document that was shared with us, but do we need to state that in our motion?
So my understanding is the actual draft doesn't have that language in it, that was sent out to us to consider and to add in. And since we took no action to add it in, it's not there.
Got it. Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Good question. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, if we could have the roll call, please.
Okay. Sorry, we're getting a little echo there from someone. Okay. Jerry Ogie, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Jack Johansson, Carver County.
Aye.
Jason Piper, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Scott Merrick, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Maddie Dahlheimer, Washington County.
Aye.
Carl Keel, Bloomington.
Aye.
Robert Ellis, Eden Prairie.
Aye.
Jim Coes, Lucher, Fridley.
Aye.
Paul Omi, Lakeville.
Aye.
Ken Ashfield, Maple Grove.
Aye.
Kathleen Mayle, Minneapolis Engineering.
Aye.
Ann Weber, St. Paul Engineering.
Aye.
Scott Janowiak, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Heidi Scholl, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Nancy Spooner Walsh, DNR.
Aye.
Mike Samuelson, MnDOT Bike Ped.
Aye.
Aaron Tagg, MnDOT Metro District.
Aye.
Colleen Brown, MnDOT State Aid.
Aye.
Cole Henniker, Met Council MTS.
Aye.
And Elaine Kutsukos, Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
All right, Chair, motion passes.
Thank you, Bradley. That brings us to the end of our business items. I don't believe we have any informational items on the agenda today. So that would move us on to other business, where we added a short discussion about the active transportation funding and kind of steps forward on how we decide how to deal with those. I'll turn it over to you, Steve, if you could give us a brief reminder about what this money is, where it comes from, and what TAB had directed us yesterday to do, and what potential next steps are, and then we'll have a discussion about that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll share the PowerPoint and don't need to go through all of it. But we did meet on mid-June, I think it was June 15th, with a joint meeting of this group and TAC to talk about that. And we've kind of collectively learned more and more about it over the past several weeks. The Bike Ped Work Group met last Friday. That's a technical subgroup of the TAC committees, of which some of you may be on. Talked about a little bit more, and then certainly yesterday at TAB, they weren't ready to, I think, bring it into the solicitation. They wanted it's a new funding source and a fair amount of money. So they wanted some more time to have discussions on it and thinking about what the possibilities could be before putting into the solicitation or another form. So again, the money starts being collected October 1st of this year. Estimated revenue of that is about 24 million per year. The rest of the federal fund, or the bulk of the federal funds that you're going to be soliciting in the 2024 solicitation are out already to 2028 and 2029. So at some point we'll have to catch up here on the funding that's going to keep accumulating, plus whatever number of years for project development that people do need. So this is 5% of the funds. And one thing that did come up through the course of business here and meetings is that there's a few sources of active transportation funding. MnDOT, state aid, it will be having a solicitation this year, and they get a sizable bump in their statewide active transportation funding. A part of the metro sales tax that goes to the counties. Part of that, the county revenue also has to be dedicated to active transportation sources. And collectively, I think that's about 50 million per year between the 7 counties. It's not equal between the counties based on state aid formula distribution there. So that's another chunk of active transportation money, plus this money that's going directly to the tab. The session law talks about, there must be a technical review process, scoring, ranking. Process must align. We had some good discussions on there of what that alignment with what they established for other allocations of funds mean. And then there's 7 criteria prioritization steps that must be met to use the funds. So a lot of new stuff, and I think people wanted some more time to think about it and talk about it, and that resulted in the tab direction here yesterday. So kind of the path forward, since we're not putting some of the money into 2024 solicitation, one path forward we want to talk to you here today about would be to include this as a task in our consultant study. It's called the Regional Solicitation Evaluation. But the consultants will also be looking at the other new federal funding sources that are new, carbon reduction and the Protect. And this would be an additional third one that they could look at and help form committees or work groups, whatever it may be. But we could add that work, which is sizable. If you watched the TAB meeting yesterday and the amount of work that staff has put in already to get to this point has been substantial, to tell you the truth. So we think it's a big work task item to think about active transportation, since it is pretty wide open, and people want to talk about, like I said before, the possibilities of what you could do with 24 million per year for active transportation. So if we put that into the consultant contract, which we're starting negotiations right now with a preferred vendor in the near term, with a preferred vendor, I think what we would do, given the interest in this funding source, is that we would pull up that, that consultant study will be 2023, 2024, and 2025. And it's really a bottoms-up approach to rebuilding the solicitation and can look at schedule, timing, if there's multiple solicitations, if there even is a call for projects. So it's a full evaluation. And what we heard from several people is, should this be kind of outside of the formal solicitation? And that would be one thing that we talk about. Should this be a separate application? Should the time frame be different or the same? So I guess when I say regional solicitation, I'm not presuming that that's where it's going to end up with what people kind of call the regional solicitation today, because it is a bottoms-up approach where we're going to look at a variety of things, from schedule, timing, how do you solicit projects, what are the criteria. So So this would be one of many things that the consultant would help us work through over the course of the 2.5 years. But given the interest and the fact that money is starting to accumulate now, I think I would move that work forward, probably to be starting in late 2023 into 2024, and try and get some answers as to what the consensus is from the region on the best use of that money. So I think with that, Mr. Chair, maybe I'll turn it back to you and just see if people have kind of questions. And there's a lot of interest on people being part of this process, is what I've gathered, both from the technical standpoint and a little bit, or to some extent, from policymakers too. And so kind of how we frame it and bring it forward a few months from now, I think is going to be important to make sure that, kind of all voices can be heard on this and before we move forward. So Mr. Chair, I'll turn that back to you then.
Thank you, Steve, for that background. So again, we're at a spot where these monies are available and we're trying to figure out what's the best way that we can distribute them. So today, I think probably it's most useful if we try to limit our conversation to the process, not so much we should fund this project or that type of project, but more so how do we help TAB decide what process will be used to do this. And as Steve indicated, one suggestion is that we could charge the consultant that we're hiring for a different project for the review of the solicitation to also help us go through a process to decide how to deal with these funds. Potentially could be with a future solicitation, but it doesn't have to be. So that's one suggestion. So I would open it up to others for questions or for comments or suggested ways that we might approach this. And please speak up if you'd like to weigh in on this.
Yeah, Maddie Dahlheimer from Washington County.
Yes, Maddie, thank you.
I certainly think there's value in what Steve just described of evaluating this as part of that process. I wonder also if there is still value in identifying like a subcommittee, I don't know what the official term is, but like a task group or something from, our existing committees to essentially be the initial brainstorming team, right? So bringing things to these meetings, these official meetings as set up, might be a little bit limiting. Whereas if we have, maybe a smaller work group or something that could serve as an advisory team to that consultant, that might help get some more ideas out there earlier from different agencies and vet those before bringing them back through this official process, which, has to follow kind of these iterations through all the different committees.
Thank you. Good comments.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, maybe just to respond here quickly before we move on. I think that would be the intent, Maddie, that this would require a subcommittee or a work group of not everybody that's on here, but people that are interested in really digging in deep to the possibilities and brainstorming, like you said. So I think we're on the same page there. So thanks.
I see Kathleen has a comment.
Thanks, Chair. I was just going to agree with Maddie's comments. So Steve already did that. Oh, good.
I would add to that sometimes, for me, one of the complicating factors is that if TAB members want to be involved, oftentimes they're at more of a policy level discussion, and whereas we may be more at a technical point discussion. So sometimes there's kind of not a continuity between those two groups if they're all in the same committee. We may want to consider a format where we have sort of a PAC or a policy advisory committee and then a technical group. That might be something to consider. I see, Jim, you have your hand up.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thanks. I guess what I would ask is whether there is a desire, a goal, a need maybe to spend, to spend some of this funding or, allocate some of this funding earlier than what would happen in the standard solicitation process, and kind of keep that in mind. And then maybe there's an evaluation on whether or not it can fit into existing category or whether it should be assigned, somewhere else just because of the nature of the funding.
And I think that's a good comment. Just to be clear, I think the proposal to add it to this consultant contract is not to at all connect it to the regional solicitation review, but rather it's a quick way to get some consulting help to help us resolve this issue. Tell me if I'm wrong there, Steve.
Yes, you got it. And what we talked about at TAB yesterday was the schedule and kind of the overlapping commitments that the committees will have here between the 24 solicitation, 26 regional solicitation evaluation, the TPP, and certainly the schedule is, in my mind, is one of the trickier parts with this, especially if you do it on separate schedules as maybe the bulk of the federal funds, and really kind of nailing down what that schedule would be from a logistics standpoint. So you don't have people applying for this funds and that funds are waiting for that set of funds. Everybody's going to want the state funds, if you're a trail project, for instance, versus the federal funds. And so kind of thinking about the sequencing and how everybody else is using their active transportation funds and what we're using our federal funds on in the bike ped area. There's all these little pieces that kind of have to fit together to kind of forge a path forward that makes sense for the region. So, those are the things we're talking about at the staff level, not that we have to debate that today, but those are the types of questions I think we would want to get into with the technical working group, is some of the sequencing and where are the holes maybe across our bike ped system, and how do we encourage this level of applicant and that and size. So it'll be a fun process, but it's going to take some time.
And I think another kind of complicating factor, if you will, is that, at least as discussed, these funds could be used for perhaps a wider range of activities than we normally go through a solicitation with. Could be operating funds, etc. So
could be, yes.
Yep. Elaine, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, so just along with the active transportation funding, there is the carbon reduction funding, and another one that just escapes my mind right now, that they'll also be discussing of how those will be distributed. So whether those will be separate applications. So there's multiple funding sources. And then what do you do if the next federal transportation bill gives you another funding source? So it's having to have some flexibility as we go forward with these funds. And then how will you do each one of them?
And I think in talking with Elaine earlier, she kind of reminded me that in the past, we used to do our solicitation by funding source, and then we kind of proactively tried to change that so that we had more flexibility, and we picked projects, and we tried to fit the funding sources to fit the projects. We're getting a lot of pots of money that have specific requirements, and we might be moving towards going back to some specific funding source organized solicitations.
That's why folding it into the full evaluation helps us look at how each of the funding sources may have to be used or couldn't be used, things like that.
Others?
Chair, this is Jason.
Yes, Jason.
I just want to continue to emphasize that the active transportation funds are not federal. Federal funds come with their own set of headaches, so much so that we nickname it, do we want to federalize a project? Whether it's funding eligibility, project development ramifications, or contracting. Colleen Brown serves as a sheriff on all that, and I really hope we think about how ATP funds are not federal and how we can use that to our advantage.
Thank you. And I would add that we make sure that we don't add a bunch of strings to it, so they're even worse than federal money.
Also, my clarification, I mean, I'm hearing references to state funds. These are sales tax funds, so they're local funds, not state funds.
Mr. Chair, this is Scott
clarification.
Noyak from Metro Transit. I have a question or a comment.
Yes, please go ahead, Scott.
I think this maybe is a question for Steve.
Yeah.
My question is, to what extent do we feel there's like a level of urgency in determining an approach related to the idea that funds will start accumulating in October? And I guess, are we in a position where the longer it takes us to determine an approach, the more what I'll call like a reverse fiscal cliff mounts in front of us, and we'll find ourselves in a position with accumulating money and the need to spend it in ever larger amounts the longer it takes for us to determine an approach. Not sure if my question makes sense.
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair and Scott. So there's a few things there. One, I think you mentioned this. The funds don't expire like federal funds do, so that's a positive. They build up in the bank account, and that's one of the things we brought to tab yesterday too. Is the con of waiting on these funds, was that you're gonna end up with $125, $130 million in the bank, likely before you do a solicitation. And do you want to kind of signal back to the legislature that you're making progress on the money that's been allocated? And Tab said we'd rather do that than rush and put it into the solicitation. So that was the direction. But I think that's why I was proposing a little bit that we get going on it later this year, and get an application going so we can kind of show that progress is being made on that, and kind of get a solicitation or whatever form it may be out kind of as soon as possible, given our other commitments out there. But I think you're onto something here too. There's the give and take of kind of getting started on this versus waiting longer. But I think what we've been told is let's do some more thinking. But I still think there is a little bit of urgency to kind of get going on, and I guess that's what I'm getting to in the end here. We're going to take the time, but we're not going to push it off to the end of that contract and not start till 25. Start thinking about it. We should start thinking about it in the near term.
Mr. Chair, Steve, thank you. And hearing that, I totally understand the logic of one of the possible approaches of using, the pending contract with the regional solicitation evaluation as a way to maybe take a first cut on an expedited manner, acknowledging some level of urgency on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Jim, we'll go with you, and then Elaine after Jim.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, one other, I guess, item as far as, maybe need to appropriate funds sooner rather than later is those safety benefits are direly, they're needed in our region, showing, we see, serious crashes, especially with cyclists, pedestrians, and so forth. So I think implementing, positive change there is going to have other benefits that maybe we aren't tracking. But I would just, kind of keep that in mind.
Thank you, Jim. Elaine?
Tab also had some discussion on that and left open the possibility that as we find out more within the next year on this, what projects or where you're heading to, do an application type, they would also leave it open that, similar to what we've done with the Protect funds or the carbon reduction funds, is adding it to the project selection next summer. So they left that, and that all that would need to do is similar to how we contacted applicants of who was eligible with the criteria that is in the legislation that could be done. So they didn't, so that was an open for if it got to the point where we probably should be spending some of that money, they left themselves open to that possibility.
Thank you, Elaine. So that would be one option that this process would consider.
And that gave them then time to discuss what they wanted the funding to go to, things like that. They would then have time before making that decision now.
Thank you. Any other discussion points? I'm not seeing any hands up. Are there just please, if you're waiting to make a comment, just jump in. Okay, not hearing any. Thank you for the conversation. So I think next steps are that this will go to TAC actually, and there'll be a similar conversation at TAC, and then we'll take it from there. Cole, I see your hand up.
Yeah. Other business, if that's okay.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
We just a heads up because we didn't present this to F&P, but we had at the technical working group for the 2050 TPP, which includes TAC planning, last week we had put out a request for volunteers, technical experts on policy development teams for the TPP. So small groups that will help us shape early drafts of policies and actions that the TPP is hoping to put out for public comment. So this is kind of like, I consider this step one in redoing the regional solicitation, getting the right policies and actions into the TPP. We actually had a deadline of yesterday, but we thought we'd just mention it today. And if you want to work with if you have a TAC planning rep, or if you know of anyone that's a topical expert on a policy team, I'm going to put a link to the presentation in the chat. It's very short. It's slide 5 has the list of policy teams. So please email me or Bethany Brandt Sargent, who used to be the staff person for this committee. So hopefully you're familiar with her. If you have any names or recommendations, or if you want to volunteer yourself for one of those groups. So it's a quick turnaround. If you could get us something by tomorrow, that'd be great. But we've already gotten a few volunteers. So just kind of another reminder for folks.
Thank you, Cole. Any other business that members would like to bring up? If not, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Do we need a motion to adjourn, or can I just adjourn it?
You can adjourn.
All right. I will thank you everybody for your participation. I would adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Carl.